A very good evening to everyone, and welcome to the second session on frequently asked questions in Rasaushadis. I'm very thankful to Dr. Gopi Krishna sir for organizing such an event to solve the queries and the questions in the minds of young practitioners about the Rasaushadis, their ill effects or their side effects, whatever they are, and the cure for the same. I also thank all the participants for waiting such patiently for the beginning of the. I welcome everyone on behalf of Indian Institute of Ayurveda and Rasashastra iiar for this webinar.
Dr. Nagvin, you need to unmute.
Sorry. Thank you, sir. So, Indian Institute of Ayurveda and Rasashastra was inaugurated by Professor Sir in 18 at Ballari. Under the guidance of Dr. Gopi Krishna sir, the knowledge of Rasashastra, Rasaushadis have been very much been understood and practiced by practitioners in the field of Ayurveda. The vision of IIAR is to treasure the unexplored and to remove the myths about the Rasaushadis in present scenarios. I welcome everyone to this present to have their queries answered and to gain confidence in learning to identify and also prepare Rasaushadis and their therapeutic effect to the best possible. I request Dr. Gopi Krishna sir to start with the session.
Thank you, ma'am. So, as we got a brief introduction from Dr. Nagvani, ma'am. So, without any delay, we will start the session. And so, our first question is: so when we go through the history of Rasashastra, we will come to know about a concept of Jivan Mukti, that is attaining salvation in one's own life, in the present life only. So to achieve Jivan Mukti, we have to increase our lifespan, or there is a need to increase the one's lifespan. Is this really possible with Rasaushadis? And do we find any references regarding this? Please enlighten us with this question, sir.
Yeah. So prior to we begin up with these questions, I really thank all the dear delegates and the whole team of IIR for supporting us, making this to happen as a strong pillars of this particular forum and making such things to happen with. To address with the issues like what is basically happening with the Rasachikitsa or the myths and mysteries with the Rasashastra, what a common Vaidya or a common person might think about the Rasashastra during his practice, we have started this particular step of addressing the issues on this platform. And the first question as claimed like for the Jivan Mukti or the longevity of the life, definitely yes. Possibly not one or two. We have some hundreds of references for this. Because the very basic Adhara Bhuta Siddhanta of the Rasashastra is something like where you address the situations with Dehavada, Dhatuvada. As a byproduct to this, we got this Chikitsavada. Because the ultimate thing is to attain salvation or Jivan Mukti, and wherein a person needs a longevity of life. That was a prime reason why the Rasashastra was being possibly discovered. And later on, to have this long life, the very basic thing you need is you need some amount or some money where you need to do some of your experiments, where you need to do some of your practicals or sadhana, or where for your livelihood. So this was the reason why Dhatuvada came into the existence. So here Dhatuvada, never in any of the textbook the Acharya speaks about using this knowledge you become rich, you have luxurious life. No, he never said it. Dhatuvada was being very much specified to be adopted as a sacred knowledge for the livelihood. It's not for making lots of money, have a luxurious life, and just go on a splendid lifestyle. No, it was never been the target of Rasashastra. It was primarily like addressing the issues for a Jivan Mukti. That was a main thing, like where you have to go with the Dehavada. And Dehavada attributes a long life. Why you need a long life? Because you need to do so much of sadhana, and by doing so much of sadhana you can get the Jivan Mukti. And for that, people started to find difficulties, because as you turn aged you need strength, so they need some medicines which can strengthen them. As on the people are turning age by age, they find some diseases which has been affected, so that the Chikitsavada came into the existence as a parallel thing or a byproduct of Dehavada and Dhatuvada. It was never been the fancies or fantasies of the people to go with the Dehavada and the Dhatuvada. It was the basic requirement, how it has to be utilized. Never the acharyas, like either might be Acharya Nagarjuna or any of the authors, said, by making this Dhatuvada, I have spent my life with lots of Ayash or Aram. It's not like something like it was just to make money. It was to see that you attain salvation, you attain mukti, you attain the longevity of life. And that's the reason why all the drugs which are used in Rasashastra are primarily Rasayana therapies. All of them are Rasayanas, right from Parada to that of the Pashana Varga. All the categories of drugs, most of them are into the category of Rasayana Tattva. The one where you can have this particular concept of understanding the science is very important. And as a byproduct, you have got this Chikitsavada. And today, what's happening is we are focusing more on Chikitsavada. We are not much on the grounds of Dehavada and Dhatuvada in present generation. We are more focusing on Chikitsavada because basically we are Vaidyas. We want to see how you can eliminate the disorders from the common man. That's the reason why we have focused on this particular Chikitsavada today. But basically, Yatha loke tada dehe, samanam purute parvati. This is a reference from Rasaratnakara. Whatever is there in the loka, the same thing or whatever is there in the external will also happen inside the body, or the vice versa, like Loka Purusha Samyavada, like of a theory. So in this particular concept, what's happening is the most stable and sturdy materials of the earth crust, like the metals and minerals, which can, they can prolong for centuries and centuries together. We do still have some of the ancient remnants from possibly different yuga, or possibly even different some thousands and thousands of years. Metals and minerals are still available to us. So the same nature as the stability how a metal or a mineral can exist in nature, if at all it is being processed well in the form of a medicine and you consume it orally, it creates the same environment inside your body. That is the reason why you have to consume such treatments which can really stabilize your body. And we are suffering with lots of disorders. And nowadays, the set of disorders is entirely different from possibly what used to happen when we were children or in our parent generation. But still, the same medicines are acting wonderfully, because whatever the name you give to a disease, it is the same Purusha, it is the same Prakriti. And we are addressing the issues on this grounds. That's the reason, even though you have some new disorders, like you have seen the example of the COVID recently, but still we were able to address the issues very significantly. So this is how you can definitely go with understanding. That's the reason why every drug is rasayana, every drug can give the longevity of life, and every drug the treatment or the adharabhuta siddhanta of the science itself to attain the dehavada, dhatuvada, and the chikitsavada.
Yes, sir.
Yeah,
Namaste, sir.
yeah,
Thank you, sir. We had a great start of our iiar session.
yeah.
And sir, now moving ahead with our next question. Lohanam Marnam Sreshtam Sarvesham Ras Bhasmanam. Sir, please put some light on this famous shloka and about explaining about Ras Bhasma, sir.
Yeah. Normally, to address this particular issue, it is something like people have their own queries regarding, like, sir, Rasabhasma, is it really possible nowadays? Because we never see any of the pharmaceutical companies selling out the Rasabhasmas in the market or something called as a Rasabhasma. Or do we have some references? Yes, definitely. We have almost 54 references nearing to where we have the different techniques of preparation of Rasabhasma. And if I'm not wrong, quite a long time back, there was a thesis being done on the Rasabhasma at Jamnagar, where all the different techniques of Rasabhasma was being tried. And in two techniques, they could easily get it. But so you have a lots of restrictions, or you have a lots of limitations in preparations, just because of the reason the evaporation point of mercury is too low, so it skips away from the practical. And always I'll say this particular science of Rasashastra is something like it's not physically or physiologically attached, it is also spiritually attached to us. Unless and until we are spiritually strong, we are unable to prepare certain medicines. There are certain regimens which we need to follow, which most of us don't follow. Might be it is in the name of ethics of the science and everything. And once you follow, only then you are supposed to, or you are achievable in preparing certain preparations. This is one of the prime reason why we are unable to prepare few of the preparations which has been explained in the textbook. It used to always happen to me as well when I was in medical schooling in post graduation under my teacher, Professor Siddhinandan Mishra sir, wherein for some of the preparations to prepare, he used to ask me, you need to chant this particular Shiva Stotram for so many times and come. There are certain preparations wherein even I was being asked to do 1 lakh japa of some Bija mantra what sir has given in the form of Upadesham. And he asks only after that you're supposed to do some practicals. So there are many such things which we need to follow. And we need to do certain rituals in the morning for the prayers offering to the Mercury, prayers offering to the Rudra Deva, prayers offering to the Rasankushi. There are many such things. Whether you believe them or not, it's immaterial. But the science speaks about it, so we need to follow it. But anyway, you want to keep such things apart. The next concept, what happens is, are we able to identify the herbs, what it is being explained in the textbook, in the right way, how it is happening? Because many times we find nowadays, almost every drug is become a controversial drug. You have some different varieties in that, identifying a plant or a species is become really challenging. Who is explained about the taxonomy part of all the plants. It was very difficult to identify based on Kriya and Karma. There are certain plants which has been taken, and we, the modern man, is unable to identify certain drugs, which is also another limitation. Might be it's a prime set of drugs, like I want to identify Saptaparna, I want to identify Kumari or Tulsi, I'm able to do it. But there are some Divya Aushadhi, Mahaushadhi, and Siddha Aushadhis you can read out in all the Rasashastra textbooks of the ancient science. Say, for example, in Rasaratnakara, Anandakanda, in all these textbooks, he gives a list of plants like called as the Siddhaushadhi, Divyaushadhi, and Mahaushadhis. And at least 90 to 95% of these herbs, we don't know how to recognize them. So these are our limitations. of the present day. You are able to identify them. You can prepare Rasabhasma possibly in a more simpler way, or you can prepare many of the rasa preparations, what you claim today as why we are unable to prepare it today. Why there is no therapeutic efficacy of all these drugs which is claimed in the textbook in the patient nowadays, like the Rasabhasma is one such example. There are many such drugs which we really don't know. So you are able to identify them, you are able to do it. Yes, definitely, because there are many of the shlokas given for these particular Mahaushadhi, Siddhaushadhis and all. Even in Ananda Kanda, he explains the taxonomy in such a wonderful way. Possibly, I feel like sometimes I'm reading a botany textbook. But when you go into the field surveys, identifying these Divyaushadhi, Mahaushadhi, and Siddhaushadhi group of drugs, not one drug, each is having its own set of drugs, we can really make more and more miracles out of it. So this is one such limitation why we are unable to go with preparation of the Rasabhasmas. It's not the limitations of the science, it's a limitation of we people where we are unable to do it. And the next thing comes, possibly Acharya knew about these concepts like as the days might prolong, people might forget or people are unable to prepare such preparations called as the Rasabhasmas. So there are textbooks like Ananda Kanda, especially in the 4th chapter, he explains the Paradabhasma. In the context, you can take or it has been chosen on 4 different varieties of Paradabhasma like Shweta, Rakta, Pita and Krishna. And he clearly mentions about it. The Rakta Varna is called as, might we take it as a Rasasindura. The Pita Varna, it is being taken as Swarnavanga. You have the Shweta Varna is Rasakarpura. And also the Krishna Varna is taken as Kajali. So that's the reason why whenever Paradabhasma is being written, you can take Rasasindura as an alternative to that in case if you don't have the Paradabhasma. When you read the textbook of Rasayoga Sagara, in many of the preparations he gives in the commentary, in the shloka he tells Paradabhasma, and in commentary he gives an excuse, Rasabhasma abhave Rasasinduram prayunjita. So you can use Rasasindura. So this is an alternative what was being explained by our acharyas, and that is the way how we have to take this particular set of drugs for the preparation of many of the bhasmas. And coming to the prime question, like Lohanam Maranam Shreshtam Sarvesham Rasabhasmanam, why this every one of us know about this shloka, wherein it is been explained like you want to do the marana of any of the metals or the metallic plates, you need to use the Paradabhasma, which is considered as one of the most potent form of preparation of bhasma. And similarly, he gives an example as with Gandhaka, it is said to be Madhyama, with Mulika is called as Adhama, and with Ariloha, it is called as Dushkrutha Pradam. It is Varjya. You're not supposed to do with Arilohas. So now coming to the Paradabhasma. So here mercury, what happens, one of the chief component what you have with mercury is it is a Sukshma Srotogami. So by this what happens, every metallic plates, whatever you are taking for Shodhan and Maran of any of the Dhatu Bhasmas, the mercury enters into the intergrain boundaries. Every metallic plate is having cluster of cells, and every cluster of cells is being separated from the other clusters with a boundary around it called as the grain boundary. In the metallurgy language, it is called as the grain boundary. So you have this mercury being used. It enters into this grain boundary and it separates the cluster of cells and it makes it into a minute, complete form of metallic component. And this is a real boon because it doesn't corrode or it doesn't make the whole of the metallic plate or the cell to break on a random way. Instead, it enters into the intergrain boundary and it separates it. So by doing with the Rasa Bhasma or the mercurial preparations, the Dhatu Bhasma, you can achieve that fineness of the particle very quickly. So you get this Uttama form of Bhasma by using Parada as a medium for making the Dhatu Marana. The second thing comes with the Gandhaka. So here with Gandhaka, what happens? In Gandhaka, most of the components convert into sulfides and sulfates. Every one of us know about it. because you take copper sulfate or copper sulfide. These are the usual derivatives what happens there. So I'll just keep this particular intuition of having any of the dhatu basma nirmana with gandhaka apart. Let me give you one more clinical complaint. What happens? Sometimes, when you are into the clinical practice, you start prescribing them with some basma. Maybe it is some tamra basma, or you want to give some rajata basma, or whatever you want to prescribe it. And you can see many of the patients initially they come and say, sir, I really have lots of relief by taking this tamra basma or rajata basma, whatever you would have prescribed to that particular patient. And as a chronicity of the treatment goes with, after 1 month or 2 months or 3 months plus, where he might need a long treatment protocol, he comes back to you and says, sir, I used to have a great achievement in my health perspective in the initial 1 or 2 months or 3 months. But later on, I find somewhere that improvement has been stagnated. I'm not further improvising. I still have a sort of the complaint as it is. I don't find a deterioration in my illness now. Initially, I got very good response, but now I'm not achievable. Why this happens? Because many times it happens in many of might be the people where you have procured with the dhatu basmas, they would have done the marana with gandhaka. So by sulfides and sulfates, what happens is it is absolutely much safer compared to other components with sulfides and sulfates. But one problem what you have is when you have read about the gut physiology, you find to know there is lots of organisms in the gut which is antibiomes, or where you have some gut biomes where it is helpful for digestion and metabolism of our food. As a sort of a avinabhava sambandha, we feed them with some certain substances where you're taking medicines, might be, or in the form of food. Say, for example, the cellulose part of your food is being digested by these organisms. And these things are abundantly available to us in the gut. And because of these organisms, we are having a very proper digestion and metabolism. Because we run as a ashrayi bhava between we and the organisms there, or the gut biomes. And unfortunate part now, what happens is when you take a sulfide molecule and when you take a glucose molecule and you see a side, both of them mimic almost the same. A glucose molecule and a sulfide molecule is almost the same with small alterations. So here what happens is these gut biomes, they usually feed on the glucose very abundantly or very commonly. And when you have the sulfides and sulfates, what happens is these organisms gets confused, takes that glucose molecule as a sulfide molecule and it starts to consume it. But unfortunately, what happens is they cannot digest a sulfide molecule. They are able to digest only your glucose molecules. And because of this, they die. The organisms will die. So by dying this, what happens? This has been explained by Acharya C. Dwarkanath in his textbooks on digestion and metabolism in Ayurveda, that gut biomes die means it is ama, means it is a cause of a disease again. It can precipitate some other disease. So this is a wrong way what's happening inside the body by processing the substances in the derivatives of sulfides and sulfates and administering it for a long duration. You have fever and cold, you happen to give to the patient a sort of a rajata basma or tamra basma, and he takes it for 1 week and closes it, nothing will happen to him. But in the chronicity of the illnesses, what happens? The organisms will die and the person will land up into ama. So then what happens? There is something Darwin's theory, it sets in here. Struggle for the existence and survival for the fittest. So this gut biomes, what they do is they start digesting, or they start learning to digest about the sulfide molecules, and they start to regrow, or they get recolonized in the gut again. And by this, what happens is they are quite acquainted in taking the sulfide molecules, but they don't have any reactions or improvements in the body. So this could be one of the common reason why initially the patient responds tremendously. Once this recolonization of the gut biomes happens, there is no improvement in the clinical perspective of the patient. So here what happens, the patient says, sir, initially I had a good response by taking your medicines, but after 3 months of medication, I find my improvement is not seen. The improvement is being stagnated. So here what happens is you need to withdraw the sulfide and sulfate molecules. So that's the reason possibly why Acharya has asked the sulfides and sulfates or Gandhaka is said to be the Madhyama variety. Adama variety is said to be the herbal media, wherein you can use any of the herbal juices to prepare the basmas. Like you have Triphala, Kumari. There are many herbs which are being used for preparing of the metallic basmas. So by using many of these metallic basmas or by making this dhatu basma nirmana with herbal juices, what happens is normally here because another question will arise to us, sir, all these are herbal components. Will these alkaloids or will these active principles of the herbs will sustain the heat temperature what you're giving in the name of Gajaputa or Mahaputa, whatever the temperature pattern you're giving to the Dhatu Basmas, and whether you have these alkaloids resisting till the last? Absolutely yes. So this is the reason why the end product Basma, whatever you get, you send it to FTIR or you send it to spectrophotometry analysis, you definitely get alkaloid compositions there. You have a concept called as a Garbhadruti, Bahyadruti and Antradruti. You need to read the Ashtadasha Samskaras of Parada to understand this, wherein the alkaloid or the herbal components enter into the cell. And this is also visualized with a specialized microscopes, wherein you can see these alkaloid components are still present in the end product, even though you have processed it for high temperature of 1000 degrees, 800 degrees plus, whatever it is in the name of Kuta Samskara. But unfortunate part, what happens is some amount of alkaloids are definitely there. But if you are doing it only with herbal juices or herbal ingredients, here what's happening is much of these herbal components are being also getting charred away. So by getting charred away, what happens? The carbon content is increased. So that's the reason while doing your thesis and all, where you go for standardization, you assess the carbon value of your basma just to understand this particular thing, whether your basma is right or the carbon limits is very high. Usually it doesn't happen there, but in case if you do marana only with a herbal component, then the carbon levels are too high in that particular basma, and giving that it could be carcinogenic or it could irritate your gut, or it might also cause some untoward effects just because of the reason carbon content is not that good on such a dosage for such a long period. This is possibly the reason why we are not using the herbal media alone for making the basmas. So the fourth category, what you have, the arilohas. So where you have the arilohas, there are a group of drugs which has been explained in the textbook as ari is one of the opposition or a drug which is antagonistic to the prime drug. So by processing the basmas with the ariloha, here what happens is there is a lots of difference between the boiling and melting point between the prime drug and also the ariloha. And by this, what happens is the arilohas, they haphazardly cut the grain boundaries. The metallic plates are being haphazardly cut off or it is being powdered off. You are very happy because you attain the basma very quickly. So this is the reason why some of the people are adopting this with the arilohas so that you get very quick basma. Because if I go with some other means of preparation of basma, it will take some 20 putas, 30 putas, and 50 putas. Whereas with ariloha, it happens within 8 to 10 putas. I'm very comfortable because I'm considering only about the financial aspect of the basma nirmana for marketing purpose. But this is not praiseworthy. Why? Because when you haphazardly cut the molecules or the cells of the metallic plates, they are not biologically homogeneous to us. So you might consume that basma without the knowledge, like how is the um, breaking of the metallic plate is being seen in a micro or nano analysis, and you consume it. They are not natural substances now. They are foreign substances because they are not complete. They are incomplete. They are haphazardly cut molecules. So here what happens, they tend to accumulate in the body. They tend to accumulate in the body. They hide in some spaces of the body, and this causes metallic toxicity. they get accumulated in kidneys, in the gut, or wherever it is, and they start to have some untoward effect in an individual. This is the reason why you're not supposed to prepare the basma with Ariloha. If you are preparing with Ariloha, the tendency of the components of the prime drug, the metallic components, tend to get accumulated in the body, and it causes a systemic toxicity, and it might cause death of the patient or organ failure to the patient, which is not at all advised by the science. That's the reason why it is called as nishkrutam pradam. You're not supposed to use it. It is dushkrutam. It does complications. It does complications. So, considering all the four categories of basma, we have taken a trial. It's not as a thesis and all. We have just taken a trial component, educating the patient, taking their consent, and we have prepared four types of basmas. Like Tamra basma is prepared with Parada as a media, with Gandhaka as a media, with lemon is one of the Marana Dravya for copper plates. So for the herbal component, we have taken lemon as a bhavana. For Ariloha is with Gandhaka for Tamra. So we have prepared the Tamra Basma with Gandhaka, and we have done four different types of basmas. We have administered four different types of basmas to all the patients who are suffering from gastric ulcers. And we have taken the biopsy before to the treatment and after treatment for all the patients. And we could find an excellent response in the patient where you have done the Parada Marita Tamra because the healing was very quick. The patient did not have any issues with it. The patient did not find any complications or any discomfort by taking Parada Marita Tamra. And even the biopsy reports, you know how beautifully the cells were being replenished by taking for 1 month duration. So you had a very good improvement in the patient. But in the other categories, in Gandhak, it was fine, but not to as excellent as Parada. In herbal media, it was inferior to Parada and also from Gandhaka, but okay, somehow it could heal to certain extent. But where you have with Ariloha, it was a problem. It was a problem. So there we could not do it in a proper way. So you have such many examples wherein you can learn from the science how beautifully the Acharya has explained what you can see in a biopsy report of a patient before and after treatment. So this is the significance of Rasa Basma and also four types of basmas which has been prepared with Parada, with Gandhaka, with the herbal component and Ariloha.
Thank you, sir. Sir, as we all know that last year in Rasakumbh, we went to Sri Shailam and Krishneshwar Jyotirlinga.
Yeah.
In this visit, we have gathered so many Divya Aushadhis in form
Yeah.
of gems and in form of herbal
Mm.
plants. So we also got samples of Sombali and other gemstones too, according to Dr. Gopi KS. He is
Yeah.
showing us the photographs so that we can have a recap of our Raskumbh. तो
Yeah.
डियर डेलीगेट्स, ये हमने जो रसकुंभ आयोजित किया था उसमें जो हमें रत्न मिले थे और सोमवल्ली के जो हमें सैंपल्स मिले थे वो इसके साथ है। तो इसके ऊपर डॉक्टर गोपी के एस थोड़ा लाइट डालेंगे।
Thank you, ma'am. So, as Sir was speaking about Divya Aushadhis, so it is very rare to get some Divya Aushadhis like Somavali. Even we had Ajayan sir with us, and even Ajayan sir was telling that in his so many surveys, he has only got to see once or twice. That is the Somavali. It is one of the Divya Aushadhi, and it is considered as king of the Aushadhis. And even a commoner cannot identify these kind of plants. Uh, Even when we were going through the survey, so our sir Ajayan sir and Gopi sir identified these plants and they showed us. That is why importance of the guidance is very much needed. And we also found other minerals like Chrysocolla, which is a natural variant of Sasyaka, and we got Swarnamakshika and other things which is displayed uh, in this photo. So moving on to the next question, sir, we have Rasaushadhis mentioned for many disorders. Are there any Rasaushadhis mentioned in Manasika Vyadhis, or which can improve mental clarity and focus? Please give us your opinion on this.
Yeah. So yeah, definitely, yes, we do have lots of references regarding the manodoshas. The textbook speaks about during the Vajra concept. While you read the topic on Vajra, the Acharya explains about the Sattva Karanam, means to increase the Sattvika guna of a person, you need to give him Vajra. So you want to remove the Rajasika and Tamasika guna from a patient, especially where you have the psychosomatic conditions like might be it is a schizophrenia or autism or ADHD or any such complaints from the patient. You can definitely go with the administration of Vajra. And also similarly, you can find a similar reference even in the chapter of Swarna and also Tamra. So in these chapters also he explains about the mano doshas and how the medicine can act. Buddhi prada is the terminology which is being used by lots of references across. You can find some 20 to 30 references of various drugs being used as buddhi prada. There are many drugs called as smrutikara. There are many drugs called as medhyakara. There are many drugs which is called as vakshuddhikara, or it is also called as kandya. So you have all these categories of drugs in Rasashastra, which is explained from the various drug context, and it can definitely be given. So normally what we do in the patients where, especially, nowadays we have this autism kids very commonly seen. You have an excellent response in these people by giving a combination of Abraka, Pravala, and Swarna. And might be you can associate it with some other drugs like you want to give with Brahmi, Saraswata Rishta or Brahmi Gruta, anything of these substances. Sir, I don't have that compositions of a single drugs in my pharmacy. I need to give some ready formulations which is available possibly across India. Then yes, definitely you have some drugs called as Medhyavati. Medhyavati is also a gold component where it is equivalently efficacious, which can be given. Saraswatarishta is also a gold component wherein it shows an excellent response in the patient wherever you have this medhya properties or where you can attribute it to this psychological illnesses in the patient. And also you have many of the patients, especially with autism like conditions, we give these combinations of drugs and they do respond a lot. The second step, what you can do, Sattva Rajatama is also been taken equivalent to some of our doshas, like Vata, Pitta, and Kapha. Like you want some patients like psychosomatic conditions where they are highly aggressive and all, might be you take it on a Rajasika category or Rajoguna, which has been affected among the Manasika Vyadhis in the patient. Simple drugs like Kamaduga Rasa, excellent composition. This Rajasika guna of the person comes down so beautifully. There we unnecessarily think about so many factors, but Rajas is related to Pitta, and so Pitta Shamana Dravyas like Kamaduga is being given to these people, wherein you have an excellent response even in conditions like epilepsy. In case if it is Pittaja, Kamaduga is good choice. Or my specification is Mukta or Pravala, or might be I go with the Pravala Garbo totally to these patients. But still, you want it in this way, yes, definitely can do. Other than with any psychosomatic illnesses or autism-like conditions to the patient, you will many times have the stress component, which is also related to the psychiatric or psychological issues. Many times the patient will say, I am very strict in my diets. I'm very good in doing exercises, but still I am into diabetic. I'm still into hypertension. Why? When you take a detailed history, you'll come to know like the person is having lots of stress. So to manage the stress is also very important, because unless and until you manage the stress, the diabetes or the hypertension will not go away from that particular patient. You need to definitely address the issues of the patient by giving the drugs of these kinds. And to the doshik levels, Vatahara set of drugs is also very good in Manovyadhis. There is a list of Vatahara Dravyas explained in Rasashastra, which can definitely, if people who have seen into multiple of my presentations in various places, I have enumerated that list of Vatahara Dravya so many times. One such a typical example, which I very commonly quote, is the Samira Pannagarasa, which is an excellent composition for Vatahara. So they can be definitely given to address all the issues of psychological or psychosomatic conditions. Yeah. Can we give this for stress and anxiety management on a daily basis? Yeah, it is all psychological conditions, no? So all the psychological conditions, it is the same issue, because we take it only on three categories: Sattva, Raja, and Tama. What categories of associates will help in weight management? It is totally a sort of metabolic disorder. You need to, because weight management and all, it's not alone. Like, you definitely have a straightforward references as Taulyahara and all, Medo Chedaka or Medo Chedakara or Medhogna. You have rasa medicines which act on Shrotas Anusara. You have rasa medicines acting on Dosha Anusara. You have rasa medicines acting based on Kriya Kala Anusara. Stages of illness, everywhere we do have, and it is with the references. But here for Staulya, we have many reasons why the person is into Staulya. Most of the times it is a metabolic disorder. And for all the metabolic disorders, we are supposed to treat them on the metabolic grounds. And that's the reason, don't go to unnecessarily cut off the fat and all. Instead, regulate it. The first line of treatment there is still the Rasachikitsa, because only the Medho Dhatu is Vruddhi, whereas other Dhatus are into Kshaya. So you are supposed to give them with Rasayana, but that drug should not increase the Medhas of the patient. And when you have such Vichitra Pratyharabda, wherein it should be a Rasayana Dravya, but it should not increase the Medho Dhatu of the person, Rasa medicines are a very typical examples, wherein we can use so many drugs of these kinds. Like you have the Tamra Basma, which is an excellent thing which can act on the metabolism factor, it can act on Staulya, it can act on detoxification, because the person is always indulging in faulty food habits. Might be it's the fast foods or whatever it is. So by taking all these things, what's happening is the patient will have an excellent response. So this is how we can definitely go with addressing the issues of Staulya Chikitsa. Normal compositions, what we might give to these people is simple drugs like Chandraprabha and Arogyavardhini, which is a great choice, how the patient can have a good response in addressing the issues of the Staulya. And this is almost the similar treatment as that of diabetes management. So it's a very lengthy discussion to go with the whole of the Staulya or the metabolic disorders or diabetic management. It takes very long time. And yes, definitely people who are interested in knowing these things, you can definitely join this particular certificate course in clinical Rasashastra. We have a detailed enumeration of all these topics, wherein in the certificate course, we are discussing metabolic disorders, autoimmune disorders, We are also discussing diabetes-like conditions, eating behaviors. We are also discussing about the cardiovascular, respiratory, pediatric, geriatric, gynec and obstetrics, nephrology. We are discussing even about the respiratory illnesses. We are also discussing about the general concepts like Kriya Kala and Rasaushadis, Shrotas and Rasaushadis. We are discussing about the raw drugs, their identification, their methods of processing, so many factors possibly which is needed as for a clinical practice. So, as we always enumerate in our medias, this is basically 8 months course with a 2 days of interaction every month, offline and online mode. So presently till March, we will be having this with 60,000 rupees as a fee for 8 months for the online students, and for the offline students, it is 70,000. And we will be hosting you people here in Bellary for the offline students. You can come over here and we will be giving you the basic food and accommodation surrounding in 3 kilometers vicinity from the venue. And also we'll be taking care of the whole of the registration, the um, charges for all the speakers, remuneration, everything, whatever it is. And you will be certified with a certificate called as Rasavidya Pravina after 8 months. So this is what we usually do in the certificate course and clinical Rasashastra. For the online students, we'll be having a live Zoom sessions where you can access on the day of sessions, and also recordings will be available to you for 3 months. So this is what we will be doing in the whole of this course. And the session for 2026 is going to begin possibly June or July. The registrations are actively happening. You have this particular landmark for the fee detail till March. So after March, again, it will be a hike because of the late registrations. So fasten your fingers, try to do as early as possible so that you can book your slots or you can book your seats. Either it's online or offline mode.
Thank you very much, sir, for this information. In continuation with our questions, सर एक बहुत ही बारी बारी पूछे जाने वाला क्वेश्चन है कि रस औषधीज में हम मल्टीपल भावनास का क्यों यूज कर सकते हैं, क्यों करते हैं, जैसे कि गंधक रसायन में क्या हम एक भावना या दो भावना को स्किप कर सकते हैं?
देखिए, बेसिकली वो भावना द्रव्य आपको इसलिए दिया गया है ताकि उसका जो भी थेरेपेटिक इफेक्ट मिलने वाला है वो तो मिलना ही चाहिए। वो आप घटा तो नहीं सकते, चाहे तो इंक्रीज कर सकते, क्योंकि आनंद कंदकार ने बता दिया कि आप उसको 7 टाइम्स या 21 टाइम्स या 108 टाइम्स भी करना है, तो और भी ज्यादा करेंगे तो और भी अच्छा है। जैसे हमको रसायन में बताया गया है कि आमला की चूर्ण को आमला की का ही भावना दे दो तो बहुत पोटेंसिफाइड हो जाता है। तो वैसे ही रसशास्त्र के जो भी द्रव्य है उसमें हर्बो मिनरल कॉम्पोजिशंस जब आप देते हैं, हर्ब्स एंड मिनरल्स टुगेदर, देह सिद्धि करोति। तो ये करने से क्या होता है, आनंद कंदकार ने बता दिया कि ये आपको देह सिद्धि देगा। देह सिद्धि मतलब आपका जो भी व्याधि है वो प्रशमन हो जाएगा और आपका देह को सिद्धि मिलेगा। तो ये नंबर से क्यों देना है, वो क्या है, उसका जो बॉन्ड्स रहता है, पारद का है, गंधक का है, जो भी द्रव्य आप उसमें डाले हैं वो पर्टिकुलर फॉर्मुलेशन में, उसका जो बॉन्ड्स है कितना उसमें अल्कोलॉइड्स का बॉन्डिंग हो सकता है उतना आपको देना चाहिए। आप 7 टाइम शास्त्रकार ने बता दिया, आपको 8 या 10 टाइम करेंगे तो भी कुछ नहीं होगा, लेकिन क्या है उसका जो करना है ठीक से करना है। ऐसा नहीं, कई लोग क्या बोलते हैं कि 8 टाइम करना है ना तो 8 दिन इसका ग्राइंडर चला लो, नहीं नहीं, ये नहीं होगा। इंस्टेड आप हाथ से करो, आप उसका मंत्र का जाप करते रहो और उसके साथ साथ करो, तभी इसका होगा एफिकेसी। हम तो जो भावना हम इधर देते हैं पोटली का, हमारा तो लगभग 100 to 120 आवर्स का भावना है। एक एक पोटली का जो भी हम भावना देते हैं वी गिव। जैसे हेमगर्भ पोटली में आपको बहुत सारे भावना मिलेगा टेक्स्ट बुक के हिसाब से, लेकिन आप उसको चेंज भी कर सकते हैं। जैसे आपको
मैम
कांचनार का
लेटर
चाहिए तो आप कांचनार का भी इसके साथ भावना दे दीजिए, कुमारी का दे दीजिए, चतुर्जात का दे दीजिए, जो भी आपको चाहिए, वो जो लगता है कि आपको पेशेंट में फायदा करने वाला है। नहीं तो ये बस में या प्रिपरेशन जो भी है आप वैसे पेशेंट में आपको देना है तो उसके हिसाब से आप हर्बल ड्रग को दे सकते हैं। इसका भी परमिशन हमारे पास है आनंद कंद में। इसमें आचार्य ने बता दिया कि यथा रोगम तथा तथा द्रव्य भावनम, सो यू कैन यूज एनी हर्बल कॉम्पोनेंट। उसमें जो भी भावना बताए, इसमें आप बिल्कुल फ्री है। जो ड्रग आपको लगता है कि पेशेंट में कर सकते हैं ताकि उसको ज्यादा एफिकेसी मिलेगा, तो आप उसका ड्रग का भावना के ऐड कर सकते हैं। इसमें कोई प्रॉब्लम नहीं, आर नॉट गोइंग अगेंस्ट द नियम ऑफ द शास्त्र। इट इज एज पर द नॉर्म्स ऑफ द शास्त्र ओनली।
Okay, sir. Sir, over to Dr. Gopi, Junior.
Uh,
Uh,
yes,
yeah.
sir. So, next question is from our delegates. How can we use Rasaushadhis as a supplement, health supplement?
I don't take it as an health supplement. Instead, Rasayana is a good terminology. You can give it on Nitya Rasayana. On daily basis, you give some amount of Rasayana Dravya in the form of whatever is needed for that particular patient. That is better. We cannot take it as a health supplement or diet supplement. Nothing. You are worried about taking something, Rasayana could be appropriate where you have lots of praises is for Abraka and Swarnamakshika. Why you have lots of praises for these two drugs in the Shastra, especially the Sattva of Abraka and Swarnamakshika is very most important just because of the reason it's a metallic cocktail. It's a composition of drug. It's not single drug. Say for example, I take Tutta Sattva, it is only copper. I take Kasesa Sattva, it is only iron. But what is the sattva of abraka? It is a cocktail. It's a mixture of so many elements. What is the sattva of chalcopyrite or swarnamakshika? It is a composition of copper and iron. This end product as sattva, what you find in abraka or swarnamakshika, is not even explained by in the periodic table. So it is something new component which you have created. So that's the reason why they give a ultimate health supplement, or might be I name it as Rasayana, because Rasayana is the one which can increase your Rasayana Tattva or Rasadi Dhatus as Paripurnata. So that can be achieved by giving the drugs of these kinds.
Okay, sir. So next question is, how can we explain the drug delivery of Bhasma and other Rasaushadhis?
Yeah, see, this is a very complicated thing because no work is being done, or it is very difficult to go with understanding this particular concept of drug delivery system within the body. Why it goes to a particular zone or what happens there, it is too difficult to explain on the modern grounds, or might be at an intracellular level. But in general, what happens is the whole of the gut, which is called as the brain of the body, as the second brain of the body, the whole of the gut is having the receptors of every organ or everything, whatever is being needed. So whenever you are giving Rasaushadhi to a particular person, either it's a single drug or it's a compound, when you're giving, it has its own specific receptors in the gut, which has been stimulated by these metallic components. Or with these rasa medicines, it gets stimulated. It is something like, you switch on the switch here, the light is been glowing in the next room to you. It is away from you, but you have switched it on here. The similar way, the receptors in the gut gets activated by giving this rasa medicines, by which the clinical efficacy or the efficacy is seen somewhere else in the body. Say, for example, you would have given around 60 milligram of medicine or 80 milligram of medicine to the patient. Out of that, much of the drug is being gone out through the fecal matter once it is being stimulated the receptor mechanisms of the gut, and it goes away because the Agni Sthana is again the Grahani or in the gut. So it shows its action there in the receptor mechanism and it goes away. You have some micro particles of it passing the mucous membrane, passing the blood-brain barrier, and it is entering into the system proper and show the therapeutic efficacy. You have given 80 milligrams, it doesn't mean that all the 80 milligrams will go away into the cellular components of the body and it shows some miraculous response in the patient. No. When you go for animal experimentation, you can collect the fecal matter and you can send it for the analysis of this metallic components which you have given orally. You do find them in the end product or in the fecal matter. Very small portion is being absorbed into the system proper for the therapeutic efficacy. Is that small dosage is enough? Absolutely, yes. That's a basic reference of Rasashastra. Alpa matrasya upayogitvat aruchir aprasangatvat. So it's a very small component which is enough for showing you the therapeutic guidelines. That is very much needed, and that's the reason why we prescribe the medicines of this kind. And you have the pratyaksha pramana, right? Like you give the medicine, the disease is getting palliated. Means it is showing the response. Everything cannot be a placebo effect. You cannot say what is being explained by Acharya Charaka or Sushruta Vagbata with the rasa medicines in their Samhita period, or to that of the Nagarjuna period, or to that of Rasaratnakara or Rasatarangini or Anandakanda, Ayurveda Prakasha, either of these textbooks, they are completely having this placebo effect in the patient. And you cannot fool people for centuries together. I might give some medicine today and say, for example, it would have shown some placebo effect. And will it show the same placebo effect for 140 million people? And that's the reason why the industries are flourishing like anything. The costs are building up, and we are able to achieve such a good health toll in the individual by giving the rasa medicines. Is that possible to achieve in the clinical forum in case if they were only placebo responses? No, absolutely no. They are showing that response. That's the reason where they are still being survived even in this particular decade. So this is what we call it as a time tested drug. You have some alterations in herbal components because the nature is being altered. We are having lots of pollutions by which the alkaloidic concentration is coming down. Many of the plants have been extinguished. There are very few remained for us. Deforestation, lots of limitations. But minerals, because the amount of medicine you use is micrograms, very small components, but the efficacy is so high. That's the reason why we are still able to do it in a very challenging way and very successful way today.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
So our next question is from one of the participants, Darshan. So he is asking, in Rasashastra text, we have a reference of Haratala Marita Vangabhasma in the context of Prameha. So as the Prameha is a chronic lifestyle disorder, how long we can give this Haratala Marita Vangabhasma? And is it safe to give a prolonged period?
Yeah. You need to assess what is the stage of prameha the patient is come to you. He needs a ugra chikitsa, then you try to go with haratala marita vangabhasma, which is really good, but it is little bit ugra just because of the reason the maraka gana is haratala. But instead, if you can go with the vangabhasma later on, and which is also pramehagna, which is also beautiful medicine for administering, and you can give for a pretty long time till the patient is normal. You can definitely go it for longer duration of drug trial to the patient, wherein he might have a good response.
Thank you, sir. So the next question is, what for autoimmune disorders, they will give immunosuppressants. So how can we assess these immunosuppressants in Ayurveda, and what concepts of Ayurveda will help in this context?
See, again, this autoimmune disorders itself is a very big chapter which we are dealing in certificate course basically, but because it has been questioned now, I'll just give a gist of it. What is basically happening in autoimmune disorder is the cells are unable to identify its own body components and they start to attack it. This is a basic thing what's happening in autoimmune disorders. So here the cells have lost its pragna of understanding what is its normal function. And they're doing a sort of a pragnaparada by attacking their own cells, which is not supposed to happen. And for this, you have a set of drugs in Rasashastra, which is being explained as a pragna bodhi. So it's not medhya, it is not smrutikara, it is pragna bodhi. It is only to rectify your pragna, or it is supposed to get it to track. It is not increasing your Medhya Shakti. It is not increasing your Spruti Shakti. It is getting it to the track. It is Pragna Bodhi. It is going to educate yourself that this is your function. You're supposed to do it in this particular way. Don't do it in other ways. Whatever you're doing is being derailed. So you need to educate it. This education system is being done internal to the body at a cellular level by administering the set of drugs which is called as a pragna bodhi. One such typical example is abraka. One more is Varnamakshika. You have a list of such drugs if you can read the Falashruti of the drugs, which can be given in such autoimmune conditions, which is normally being prescribed in all autoimmune disorders, including psoriasis.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
सर, जैसे कि आपने पहले भी बताया कि इंडियन इंस्टीट्यूट ऑफ आयुर्वेदा और रसशास्त्र एक ऐसा प्रोग्राम लॉन्च करने जा रहा है जिसको सर्टिफिकेट कोर्स इन रसशास्त्र बोला गया है। और इस कोर्स की जो सीमा है वो 8 महीने की है, और हर महीने ये 2 दिन का क्लास रहने वाला है, ऑनलाइन एंड ऑफलाइन। कहीं पे भी कोई भी डिफरेंस नहीं है ऑनलाइन एंड ऑफलाइन में। सिर्फ ये डिफरेंस है कि जो लोग दूर से ट्रैवल करते हैं, नहीं आ सकते, वो ऑनलाइन क्लासेस असेस कर सकते हैं, और जो ऑफलाइन वहां रह सकते हैं उनको देखने से और वो अच्छे से देख सकते हैं। बस यही डिफरेंस ऑनलाइन वालों रहेगा, एकोमोडेशन विद फूड एंड एवरीथिंग। एंड ऑनलाइन वालों को हम लोग रिकॉर्डिंग्स भी अवेलेबल करवाते हैं फॉर द नेक्स्ट 45 डेज। इस कोर्स का जो फीस रहेगा डेट इज 70,000 फॉर द ऑफलाइन मोड, इंक्लूडिंग फूड एंड अकोमोडेशन एंड रजिस्ट्रेशन फीस एंड कोर्स चार्जेस। एंड फॉर द ऑनलाइन मोड इट इज 60,000। तो ये हमारा सीसीआर का कोर्स है जो कि जून या जुलाई से स्टार्ट होने वाला है। इसके जो लिंक है वो हम चैट बॉक्स में शेयर करेंगे। दूसरा, इसी के साथ साथ हम हर्बो मिनरल और जियोलॉजिकल सर्वे करते हैं जो कि रस कुंभ के नाम से है, और ऐसे हमने 3 से 4 रस कुंभ कर चुके हैं जो कि अलग अलग जगह से होते हैं। और उसी रस कुंभ में हम बहुत सारी मेडिसिन्स ढूंढते हैं, बहुत सारे मिनरल ढूंढते हैं। आपको एक नॉर्मल हम जैसे जंगलों में जाके जो आयुर्वेदाचार्य, जो योग विधि से हमने जो मंत्र संस्करण से जो जो रत्नों को ढूंढा है वो यहाँ पे दिखाए जाएंगे। साथ ही साथ दिव्य औषधियों का अनुभूत है। आप स्क्रीन पे देख सकते हैं सीसीआर के कोर्सेज के जो ग्लिम्स है वो भी हमें मिलेंगी। इसी के साथ हैंड्स ऑन ट्रेनिंग भी हम लोग देते हैं। कॉस्मेटोलॉजी पे है, अग्निकर्मा पे है, विदकर्मा पे है। ये रसकुंभ में हमें जो औषधियां मिली थी वो हैं। इसमें सिट्रिन विद फॉसिल भी मिला जो कि एंट्रैप्ड था। सर वहां पे टेस्टिंग करवाते हैं। सुबह हम लोग सभी मिनरल्स को ढूंढते हैं और शाम को टेस्टिंग होती है। यहाँ पे हमने रत्नगर्भ पोटली बनाई थी कृष्णेश्वर में। और जो दूसरा है वो अलग अलग विधि से रस सिंदूर निर्माण भी किया गया था। ये व्याघ्रनखी है, उसके साथ टेपोइका, गोरक्षगंधा, ऐसी दिव्य औषधियों का संग्रह हमने वहां पे की। वाइल्ड पेशन फ्रूट फ्लावर, विष्णुक्रांता, लुकस बाइफ्लोरा, आजेन सर और बोटानिकल टीम के साथ में ये वन औषधियों का मिला। ये हमारी टीम है जो कृष्णेश्वर में हमारे साथ रस कुंभ में थी। अलग अलग भारत के प्रांत से बहुत सारे जो हमारे पास आए दिव्य औषधियों को कलेक्ट करने, और आप भी आ सकते हैं। रस कर्पूर को इस बार हमने श्रीशैलम के अंदर एक शेल में बनाया। पोटली प्रिपेयर को पुटा मेथड से कैसे बनाया जाता है, क्योंकि पोटली हम गंधक द्राव मेथड से बनाते हैं, यहाँ पे पुटा मेथड से हमने सिखाया। उसी के साथ साथ डॉक्टर गोपी कृष्णा सर ने हमें रॉ फॉर्म में जियोड्स कैसे मिलते हैं, साथ ही साथ में ये फॉसिल्स कैसे कलेक्ट होते हैं। ये काकड़ नखी है जो कि च्यवनप्राश का एक मुख्य घटक है, वहां पे मिला। तो इस तरह हम बहुत सारी हर्बल औषधियां और मिनरल्स का कलेक्शन कर सकते हैं। सीसीआर 2026-27 की डिटेल्स जून जुलाई में जो सर्टिफिकेट कोर्स होने जा रहा है जिसमें आप रस प्रवीण होंगे, इसमें आप अपनी बहुत सारी क्वेरीज को सॉल्व कर सकते हैं। डिटेल्स हमारे इंस्टाग्राम पेज, फेसबुक पेज और IAR की वेबसाइट पे अवेलेबल हैं। डॉक्टर पल्लवी जल्दी ही चैट बॉक्स में सभी चीजें शेयर करेंगी। उसी के साथ मैं अभी हैंड ओवर करती हूँ डॉक्टर गोपी कृष्णा KS को। सर।
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you for giving an intro to ourselves and introduction of. So moving on to the next question, sir. In Pravala Panchamrita, almost we find all the drugs are of Saumya Guna, but still we are giving Arka Kshira as a Bhavana. Why Arka Kshira is mentioned in this? And when we go for a mass production, is it possible to procure large quantities of Arka Kshira?
Yeah, Acharya Charaka has clearly explained about it whenever you are preparing any of the medicines, like Ushna Guna and Shita Guna Dravyas are bound to be mixed into one component. Whereas what is a Pradhana Dravya, that will be the prime force, what will be the mode of action of the drug and all in the human body. That is how the things has to go with. You can definitely alter the Bhavana Dravya. The text has given you a reference of Arka Kshira. We can definitely do it with some other drugs as well, depending on the patient's need. Because the prime concept of the Parpati Kalpana is to maintain the Agni. And here, the Panchamrita Parpati, all the components are very mild. You need to make it a sort of a little bit Ushna Tattva or something like where it can have the efficacy as the Agni Rakshaka. That's the reason why we need to give them with this particular Ksharya Dravya or a sort of a Kshira, which can definitely have that efficacy. To collect it in a bulk for all the Kshira, especially in Snuhi Kshira or Arka Kshira, because they are being used as a Bhavana Dravya in many of the rasa preparations. Normally, of course, by just pinching it here and there, you get small quantities of it. But instead, sometimes what happens when you need it in bulk, what people do is in some of the folklore practitioners or folklore method of collection of this Kshira, they plow the earth beneath it for a very mature plant and they injure the mother root of it. And they keep a vessel beneath it or they wash that root away from mud and all and they just insert that with a plastic cover or with a vessel beneath it. Normally this milk has been highly concentrated in the night, so they usually do this particular procedure in the late evenings or at night. By next morning, much of the milk which has been exudated and it has been collected into the vessel, which has been collected and it has been used in a large scale. So this is how it has been collected and this is how it has been prepared in industries.
Thank you, sir. So can we take some questions from the delegates?
Yeah,
I have
please.
a raised hand from
Sure.
Pushpa ma'am.
Yeah.
Pushpa ma'am, can you unmute and can you ask the questions?
Namaste, sir.
Yeah, namaste.
Sir, in autoimmune disorders, modern systems they give immunosuppressant medicines,
Yeah.
but Ayurveda we give immunity to increase immunity, sir, like
Yes.
gourd preparation, like.
Yes.
Then how it is, how it acts, sir?
Madam, there what they're doing in the modern system is they suppress the immunity so that
Yes, sir.
it doesn't recognize or it has been the immune factor itself is reduced because here the toxin or unwanted thing in the body is your immune system. And in our system, what they do is why your cell is being derailed, try to rectify it. So we are trying to educate the cell and try to get it to the track. And we are starting to increase it because by this time the person would have already affected in some disorder and he's lost some of his body tissues and where he needs rasayana. And for that he needs that Vyadik Shamatva property. So we need to increase the immune system. And we have to see that you educate the immune system to work normally or physiologically. So these things happen in parallel.
Gold preparation also used like Prajna Bodhana drugs.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, sir. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir. So moving on to the next question. Sir, after collecting Akakshira, so it will become hard now, sir. So how to manage?
Yeah. See, normally what happens is you have this chincha swaras and all are as the shodhana medias for it. So it is directly placed in the chincha swarasa in the vessel, which I have said you recently, and the milk is directly into that. And immediately you need to collect that milk and mix it up with whatever the bhavana dravya you want to, and try to use it.
So we have to collect chincha patra swaras or chincha seeds?
No. Patra swarasa.
Okay. Okay, sir. So next question is how to understand features and authenticity of raw drug, metals and minerals as per the controversial issues mentioned in our Rasa text and its modern parameters. What is the hack to learn it and how to show the students its applicability?
Of the raw drug, is it?
Yeah, how to identify the authenticity or how to check it. I think it is related to mineralogical survey.
Yeah. See, the best part is you need to go with understanding the Grahya Lakshanas of each drug. And in Rasashastra, Grahya Lakshanas are really very scientific. When you read the Grahya Lakshanas together, you feel as if you're reading the Dana's textbook of mineralogy. Because both of them look alike. Dana's textbook of mineralogy is internationally approved mineralogy textbook. So you have lots of similarities in Grahya Lakshanas explained in Rasaratnakara or any of our textbooks. So those Grahya Lakshanas are more than sufficient most of the times to understand or recognize the raw drugs and try to use them for your preparations.
Also, here I would like to add that there is a detailed video regarding the mineralogy, which was given by Dr. Karanth sir on iiar website. Anyone interested can look into those videos for the mineralogical evolution of various metals and minerals. Thank you.
Yeah, if you can go into our website at www.iiar.co.in, you have lots of free sessions. Among that, you have lots of geology sessions, like how Abraka, Vaikranta, Makshika, everything is being taken in detail. So there what happens is how the drug you need to identify it, how they are available in India, how to take everything is being enumerated. Possibly more than what is needed to we people is being explained there in the, and those sessions are free to access to anyone.
Yes, sir. And really, they are very knowledgeable session, and even the sessions are available on YouTube. Only on Abrak Bhasma, we have more than 4 hour classes. So you can access YouTube in the name of Dr.M.Gopi Krishna, sir. We have also mentioned sir's number for further details. And sir, there is a one question. Which ras bhasma or treatment can be given in patient with nasal polyp without going for a surgery?
Shwasakuthara rasa in the form of nasya. The other things what we do is Rasagarbha Pottali is also being very good in these conditions along with Triphala Gugulu and the Gandhaka Rasayana. This is also one more composition which we usually give in these people where they're suffering from nasal polyp. And of course, any of the ksharas, like you have the Shikhari Thaila, any of these things are given in the form of nasya. In case of nasal polyps is also a great help. And there are many of the dhupanas, which is also been explained, like Manashiladi dhupana. Even that is an excellent composition where you can give as a dhupakalpana. Herein we are taking Manashila, Haridra, and Karpura, or the ingredients, roll it in a bandage cloth or a kora cloth, and take it as for the dhupakalpana. Even that is also very good in nasal polyps.
So can we use Apamargashar and Tankanshar also?
Absolutely, yes, you can.
Okay, sir. Sir,
Okay.
Another is what about the Balatak Lepa?
Be very cautious because Balatak is very, very corrosive, very tikshna. So you should be very cautious. Sometimes people get anasarka, sarvanga shotha just by sitting under the balataka tree. Forget about the sparsha of it. So you should be very cautious because some people are very, very sensitive to balataka. So you can give an trial grounds with a very, very small portions of it and try to go. Or else don't try with balataka because it's a very tikshna dravya.
Sir, what management can be done in CKD by Basma, Rasa Basmas, sir?
It primarily depends on why the person is into CKD. In case in India, at least, very common thing is diabetic complication, hypertensive complication, drug induced, or IgA syndrome. These are the four reasons which is very commonly wherein the person is land up into some CKDs. There are other things, okay, there are lots of things to discuss there, but it's a lengthy discussion to go with. So primarily it is these four factors. So for either of these four factors, the first two what you have, either it is a diabetes management or the hypertension management, you need to do the whole systemic control there, not only the CKD. You need to address the whole issue. Might be you go with the Chandra Prabhavati, Saptaparna Kwata Bhavana, or we go with Vasanta Kusumakara, or we go with Vangabhasma, whatever it is, and try to see that the whole of the condition is under control, which it itself is very good for addressing the issues of CKD. Similarly, is even for the hypertensive management, where we go with Chandraprabha with Sutashekara or Vishamushtivati, and also we go with the Pravala like preparations if we find a Pittadikyata, or if at all we find the person is also having conditions like portal hypertension, which is also many times associated in these conditions as portal hypertension induced CKDs. So in these conditions, Pravala is one of the excellent composition. My choice is always there to go with the Pravala Garbha Kottali in such conditions, wherein we can maintain the patient absolutely normal for decades together. And people with the drug induced, you need to go for all the Vishagana Dravyas. Like you have the Tamra, Swarna, Tridhatu, all of those drugs are being given to first neutralize the toxins because the drug induced, some analgesics or NSAIDs and all chronic use, irrational use, wherein the doctor would have been prescribed for a couple of days, but patients out of innocence or ignorance, they would have taken it for a very long time, and which has made them to land up into some renal complications. In those patients, yes, definitely first give them with some Vishagna Dravyas and then treat them with the CKD management. So once you remove, this is called as a Nidana Parivarjana. The disease is a Nidana here. Try to remove it. This is only the Upadrava of it. It will go away by itself. When the Pradhana Vyadhi is being suppressed, this becomes by itself. But only in IgA syndrome, which is also a sort of a heredity like of a thing or autoimmune kind of a thing, we go with a Mrutyunjaya Rasa along with Punarnavadi Manduram and try to maintain the patient on Indukanta Kashayam or Dashamula. Try to maintain the IgA syndrome also will come down. But definitely it changes from person to person, condition to condition. This is a general consideration what I have tried to give my prescription in these conditions. Like you have even the Heva Garbha Potali and Tridhatu Garbha Potali, very commonly we prescribe in the people suffering from CKDs. Sarvato Bhadravati is also a very good composition where we are using in many of the patients suffering with CKDs. We prepare Sarvato Bhadravati in the form of Potali Kalpana and try to do it. In diabetic nephropathies, we give you Vasanta Kusumakara Potali to the patient, which is also an excellent composition to arrest the CKDs if it is diabetic induced. So it depends from the person to person and condition to condition.
Yes, sir. Sir, I think
you, sir.
we are having one session on diabetology in Indian Institute of Ayurveda and Rasashastra courses.
Yes.
Dear participants, हमारे IAR में बहुत सारे courses हैं जिसके अंदर अलग अलग टॉपिक्स कवर किए गए हैं सेशन वाइज. आप वेबसाइट पे जाके उन कोर्सेज को चेक कर सकते हैं. उसमें गायनी पे है, डायबिटोलॉजी पे, रूमेटोलॉजी पे, अलग अलग सिस्टम वाइज उस पे कुछ अवेलेबल है. तो आप वहां पे उनको विजिट कर सकते हैं वेबसाइट में एंड यू कैन चेक इन एंड गेट थ्रू योर डाउट्स क्लियर्ड. सो द नेक्स्ट क्वेश्चन इज, सर, So kindly explain about premature ovarian failure or premature ovarian insufficiency.
So again, for this, you have many reasons why this is happening to the person. Uh, Many times, this is might be we take it as dhatu agni mandhyata, or wherein the person is landing up into the premature changes. Might be even in those patients we have AMH has been significantly reduced, where we go with the agni samyakrut by giving the simple drugs like Chandraprabha Arogyavardhini, chief component to increase the exercise or try to maintain it, where we give the Rasagarbha Pottali along with Guduchi Kvata as an Anupanam. Or might be we go with Rasagarbha Pottali along with the Kaishora Gugulu. We need Guduchi there along with Parada to show this efficacy in the person, by which the size of the egg or ovum is being really increased well, and also the person becomes normal. One more drug which makes a miraculous response in these conditions is tankana, because pushpa janaka karanam tankanam. So tankana, it increases or it gives a good generation of pushpa or the ovums, which is very beautifully being encouraged by giving tankana seva. So you can go for any of the tankana preparations, or you can give tankana as it is to the patient. In case you want to give it in some formulations also, you can give, or you can give tankana as it is individually to the person also, which is of great help in such conditions. You have a drug called as a Pushpa Dhanva Rasa. So even this is a very good composition wherein you can give to the patient for the Pushpa Janana and also for the maintenance of the Pushpa. So this is an excellent composition of the Rasadravyas which can be given in these conditions.
Thank you, sir. So we have one more question. So as we know, genetic disorders are will come into the categories of Yapya Vyadhi. So in these conditions, how Rasashadis are helpful?
There are many conditions which are irreversible. Say, for example, there is some 6 fingers to the person. I cannot give some Rasaushadhi and make one finger to fall off. It's a congenital abnormality. There is a cleft palate to a person. By giving some basma, the cleft palate doesn't close that easily if it's a total cleft palate. So it's not possible. But in certain things, that's the reason why we say you need to understand what is that masanumasa. We normally start with the rasa preparations in the pre-consummate period, keeping all these things in mind. For the male partner, we give Hemagarbha Potali. For the female partner, we give Rajatagarbha Potali for 3 months. Along with that, we give some other rasa medicines like Chandraprabha, Arogyavardhini, either of these things. Ask the patient to plan up for consummate after 3 months. Once they conceive, the male partner medicines is being discontinued. And for the female partner, during the pregnancy, we give them with Hemagarbha Potali for the whole of 9 months, along with the Masa Anumasa. And after that, the delivery might is being expected to happen normally. And after that, the Swarna Prashana is started to the child and to the mother till the Garbhini Charya. We give them the medicines and later on we can discontinue it. But for the child, we need to give the medicines as Swarna Prashana for lifetime. So by doing this particular protocol, and also we have our course on pediatric and also in obstetric practice, where we have detailed enumerated so many herbs and minerals or metals to be given to the child on monthly basis and daily basis also, for the whole of the child turns till it turns to adolescent. So till that time, we can definitely go with these things to avoid the congenital disorders. Once the congenital disorder has already happened, then it could be difficult to address. But basically, I'll say I had one case wherein the person had a congenitally absent blood vessels in some parts like the uterus and all during pregnancy, which was being known. But the patient responded tremendously by giving Lagumalini Vasanta. So there are some drugs which can act as a supporting drugs, and it depends on what organ pathology the person is having. The normal phenomena what we take is, say for example, there is some anomaly in the uterus which might not be known in the early part of the life, might be in the later part of the life. In a post-marital period, you might notify some of the anomalies or some abnormalities there, and you are very sure like it is a birth anomaly. Then you need to root out like from there where the uterus is being formed in a garbha. This is a matruja bhava. So try to go with the drugs which is matruja in nature, and try to see that the tattva, matruja tattva is being increased so that these organs might develop in a proper way. So by doing these types of trials also, the patient will definitely have very good response. So normally there what we do is we give them with the Rajata Basma or Rajata Garbha Potali along with the Shatavari as an ingredient. Then it has an excellent composition or combination wherein it shows a great response in case if it is a congenital anomaly in the uterus. But it depends from organ to organ or from the place to place. You have the list of anatomical organs which has been explained by our acharyas like Matruja Bhava, Pitruja Bhava, Sattvaja Bhava, what all you have gained. And according to that, you can plan your medicines and try to give them to the individual.
थैंक यू सर। सर इसी की कंटिन्यूशन में एक क्वेरी है जो कि बहुत सारे डेलीगेट्स ने पूछा है कि जैसे आजकल गर्भ संस्कार वापस से प्रचलन में है जो कि शास्त्र में मेंशन था, तो क्या गर्भ संस्कार के मासानुमासिक में हम ऐसी रसौषधीज को यूज कर सकते हैं?
हाँ बिल्कुल यूज कर सकते हैं, उसमें
जो
क्या
आप
है।
एक बता सकते हैं कि मासानुमासिक हम कौन कौन से यूज कर सकते हैं?
देखिए नॉर्मली हम क्या करते हैं, यूजुअली वी प्लान 2 grams ऑफ हेमागर्भा थ्रू आउट प्रेगनेंसी, एवरी मंथ 2 grams हम तो नॉर्मली देते हैं। लेकिन उसको प्रिपेयर करने का जो विधि विधान है उसका थोड़ा सा अलग है। इसमें जो जीवंत्यादि गण है उसका भावना दी जाती है हेमगर्भ को, और उसको पेशेंट में दिया जाता है, जिसमें बहुत पेशेंट्स को बहुत बेनिफिट्स मिलते हैं। तो ऐसा जो है रसद्रव्य का सेवन, और एक है एस्ट्रोलॉजिकली, जब हम बोलते हैं एस्ट्रोलॉजिकल इश्यूज के हिसाब से भी हम देखेंगे, चाणक्य का रेफरेंस आपको मिलेगा कि एवरी मंथ इज बीन सुपरवाइज्ड, और एवरी मंथ अधिपति इज वन ऑफ द नवग्रह, एंड दैट navaratna concerned to that particular graha is being done in the form of a pishti and try to give it to the mother in that particular month, which will encourage the growth of the fetus. समझ लीजिए कि फर्स्ट मंथ is having the dominance of Surya Graha, we give them with Manikya Pishti. The second month is with the Chandra Graha, we give them with Mukta Pishti. The third month is with Kuja और अंगारक ग्रह, उन लोगों में हम प्रवाल पिष्टि देते हैं पूरा मंथ। तो इसी प्रमाण से हम प्लान करते जाएंगे तो डेफिनेटली यस, यू कैन हैव अ वेरी गुड रेस्पॉन्स इन द पेशेंट।
सर ये मदर के स्टार्स के अकॉर्डिंग हमने सेलेक्ट करना है?
नहीं नहीं नहीं,
रत्नास्पति?
नहीं नहीं नहीं, एवरी मंथ इज बीन इन्फ्लुएंस्ड बाय वन ग्रह, दिस इज बीन रिटन इन बृहत संहिता। ये तो स्टैंडर्ड फॉर्मेट है, किसी को ऑल्टर नहीं होगा मंथ वाइज। सो बेस्ड ऑन दैट यू नीड टू प्लान द रत्नास कंसर्न टू दैट ग्रह।
Okay, sir. And rest of the masa anumasic in the same way?
Yes, yes.
Okay, sir. Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
Okay, sir. So this was very informative. So as the time is running, so we will take one last question. Sir, what Rasashastra can be given in IBS, which is Pravahika type or diarrhea?
Yeah. In most of the conditions, IBS, they need a very good counseling, because many of the times the chronicity of the disease, people would have lost their hope on it, and they start to compromise their life with only blank diets. So it should not happen. They should have a normal diet. Try to balance Agni. And many times this particular thing is Vataja or Pittaja very commonly. I don't say Kapha doesn't have an involvement, it definitely have it, but primarily there where you have the conducting defects, sometimes the gastrocolic reflex. The patient or the person start taking 1 or 2 gulps of food, immediately he finds urge to go and evacuate. So this is something like gastrocolic reflex, or wherein the patient is having some food where he's having a gastroceliac, or where it gives a sort of a pump, or it gives a sort of ejection, like he has to evacuate. So in those neurological conditions, or any of the conditions, we try to basically balance them with two prime components. One thing is, you are supposed to give to the patient with the drugs like Ananda Bhairava Rasa, Bola Parpati, any of these drugs. Along with that, we have to give them with Gandhaka Rasayana. Why Gandhaka Rasayana? It is to maintain Agni. It's not very Tikshna Dravya like that of Chitrakadivati, where it can cause some gastric irritation in case, because sometimes this IBS could be even related to Pitta. They take small amount of spicy food, they find urge to evacuate. So even this is all Pittaja conditions, like wherein the patient is unable to bear with any of the Ushna Ahara Dravyas. Some people are unable to take even hot coffee or tea or any of such drinks which is really hot. In those people, what we do is, initially we ask them to take the drugs like Pravada Panchamrita and all to palliate it. So it's a very good composition if you can give Ananda Bhairava Gandhaka Rasayana with Pravada Panchamrita, and assess the patient's clinical parameters, like the patient is having constipation or the patient is having diarrhea. If the patient is having diarrhea, you can increase it with some other Parpati Kalpanas to strengthen the gut, like you have the Panchamrita Parpati, or you have the Rasa Parpati, or anything of these, and try to balance it. And try to see that the patient is absolutely normal. But sometimes what happens is, the patient is unable to go with addressing the issues even after taking all these things. So in those conditions, what we usually do for the people suffering with those conditions is, we start them with the Sutta Shekara Rasa. So Sutta Shekara Potali is being given, Sutta Shekara Rasa is given. This gold components, it really strengthens the gut. Sometimes you might have some conditions like wherein you have to give them with Sutta Shekara, you have to give them Arogyavardhini on occasional grounds, because Arogyavardhini is to evacuate, Sutta Shekara is to strengthen the gut. Sutta Shekara is basically, I'm not exaggerating my words, it is something like a Divya Aushadhi, especially for the gut disorders. And for these people with IBS, what we have done is, as a part of a trial, even we have taken Sutta Shekara Rasa, we have prepared Parpati Kalpana out of it. Just because of the reason, Parpatis are very good in acting in the gut. So Sutta Shekara is converted in the form of a Parpati Kalpana, and that is being given to the patients who are suffering from IBS. This is also a great choice wherein the patient responds tremendously. So there are various avenues. Again, it depends on individual personality, their stress factors, the severity of the episode, the chronicity of the episodes, and based on that, the treatment plan might change from person to person.
Thank you, sir. It was very informative. So one last question, sir, if you are okay.
Yeah.
Sir, Dr. Srinivas is asking, Rasaushadhi for fibroadenoma stage 3 and in Rasaushadhis in benign breast cancer.
Fibroadenoma and breast benign conditions are many times categorized in the same way. We go with Chandraprabha and Arogyavardhini to these people, that is sufficient. And some people we go with Rajatagarbha Potali, around 4 grams per month. It's a very small dosage, or 50% of the classical dosage, which is also sufficient. We go with Ashoka Rishta and Kumari Asava as a combination, which is more than sufficient in many conditions. In case if the person is not responding to this particular protocol in 3 months, then we start with Rajatagarbha Potali to the patient. And the person will usually respond by Rajatagarbha. And even after 3 months, after giving Rajatagarbha, the person is not responding, then you plan up to go with Hemagarbha to those patients.
Thank you, sir. So we are coming to the end of the session, and to conclude, it was a very informative session. So we had a part 1 Q&A session which was done on last week, So in that part one, we discussed more of conceptual parts of Rasashastra. And I can say that today we have discussed disease-specific topics regarding Rasaushadhi. And I'm very thankful to Dr. Gopi Krishna sir to share his knowledge regarding the Rasaushadhis and brief gist or a gist of Rasaushadhis according to the categories of diseases. And we hope we have taken few questions from our participants, and we have also taken some questions which we were which were listed previously from the social media and from our Vaidya circle. So thank you, Gopi sir, to sharing the knowledge, and thank you participants for the participation. And participants can join our WhatsApp group to get the information about our future sessions. And you can go through our website www.iiar.co.in, where you can find nearly 20 to 25 free videos about Ayurveda and Rasashastra. And please join us and grow in your practice. Thank you, sir. Thank you, participants.
And
Thank you.
sir, I think part one is uploaded on the YouTube or iiar?
No, it's on the Facebook. So you can see on the Facebook.
Okay.
There it has been uploaded. You have a link of the Zoom. You can click on it, you'll get it. So you can share the WhatsApp group link wherein people who are interested can join us for the general
Sir,
discussion.
Dr. Pallavi has already shared all those things.
Okay.
Yes, sir. I request Dr. Gopi to share it again so that our delegates can copy it.
Yes, ma'am. Now I have shared the link to the Facebook page, Instagram page, and WhatsApp group.
Okay.
So we will give 1 minute to the delegates so that they can join it. Sir, till that time, please put some light on our further programs which we are having in future.
So presently in this year, we are expected to host one Rasachikitsa where we'll be taking on a clinical parameters on either of the systems, which we are yet to plan, possibly in the month of July, where we'll be having 2 or 3 days of national event to happen in Ballari very commonly. And the next thing is about the certificate course in clinical Rasashastra, which has already been enumerated, which is for 8 months course. And also we are expected to host a Rasakumbha, possibly in Bihar. We are yet to plan. There are lots of homework to do on this particular thing. But yes, we are planning for Rasakumbha to happen possibly in the month of September or October. The dates are also yet to happen still. We need to work upon many things to go with it. So we are planning to host it possibly in Siddhinandan Mishra sir's residence this time. Just to have some interactions with sir because now he's 97. So it's really a boon. It's a sort of a bliss to every person of Ayurveda to interact with Sir or try to take his blessings and learn from the legends of Ayurveda, who is possibly the senior most personality, iconic personality of Rasashastra in India.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much, sir.
Yeah.
Thank you, Gopi. Thank you, Pallavi ma'am. Thank you, Nagvini ma'am. And thank you all the delegates. Again, thank you, sir.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you very much to all the dear delegates. We are always here at Indian Institute of Ayurveda and Raashastra, a e-platform to teach you Ayurveda and its treatment modalities. Thank you very much.
Shubhratri.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.